guys. So today I want to talk to you about money, but not that I'm an expert in money. I feel like I do pretty good. I'm pretty responsible with money now. Certainly as the older I get, the more I have. I don't have a lot of money. It's just that I compared to where I was 20, 30 years ago, I'm better off than what I was. And over the past 5 to 10 years, I've developed a new attitude about money. And that's really more of what I want to speak to today, is about our attitude toward money. Because money is the one thing in this world besides love that really gets a grip on us in a way like nothing else does. Those two things, money and love. And sometimes those things can become intertwined in a way that's not healthy, but I'm talking about this because I am on my way to the tire shop to get to get another tire replaced due to an obstruction in it. And this is the second time, maybe I said that already, it's the second time this year I've had to do this. Now these tires are not cheap. Well, nothing's cheap anymore, right? Nothing's cheap. Everything is expensive. And every time we have to make what we feel like should be an unnecessary purchase, we just roll our eyes at it and we gripe, we fuss. I mean, maybe not all of us. And I'm hoping that I can help mitigate some of that by the end of this little talk. But for years I did that. I was in kind of in a bad spot financially, and for so many years that any little interruption in my financial habits seemed cataclysmic. It wasn't. I survived all of them as everybody else does. But nevertheless, it was always so hard to deal with. But I think about all of it differently now. See, I was going to a Christmas party the other night, and it's on the other side of Tampa. So it was, about an hour's drive away from where I live. As I started to head out, I was taking off later than I really wanted to anyway. As I started to head out, the indicator came on my dashboard, letting me know that I had low tire pressure in my passenger side front tire. And, immediately I was like, oh, great. Here we go. Wonderful timing. I thought, well, maybe it's just a small leak. That's just generally not how these things go, though. I mean, maybe in the past it seemed like that kind of thing happened more often, but not lately. Like, it's usually you got a problem more than just a leaky stem or whatever the case might be. I turned right back around, went home. I wasn't even a mile down the road. I went back home, and I saw a nail in the tire, and I thought, well, maybe it won't leak fast. I aired it up. I didn't want to take my other car because my other car is old, and I just didn't want to, I haven't driven in a while. This will be okay. I'll take my air pump with me. I'll get some Fix-A-Flat on my way there. By the time I got there, the tire was pretty much flat again. But I was prepared. I had my trusty pump. I say pump. It's something you plug into your cigarette lighter, if they even call it that anymore, your adapter, or whatever the case might be, and you just press a little button, airs it back up. I had that, had some Fix-A-Flat. I took care of the problem right then and there, and I thought, well, this is not a permanent fix, but at least it'll get me home, right? It did. It leaked. It still leaked, but it was a little bit slower. Got all the way home. Within just a matter of a couple hours being home, the tire was completely flat again. Okay, no problem. At least I know I can air it up and get it to a certain distance, So I went down to the tire shop the next day. I said, hey, I think this can be fixed. Can you patch it up? Oh yeah, no problem. We'll do it right now. I said, yeah, well, I put some Fix-A-Flat in it last night. He goes, oh, I can't fix it if you put Fix-A-Flat in it. Really? Why not? Well, because the solution that they have in that's not the term he used. That's what I'm saying. This is the solution they put in there. It's like a glue. It's like a residue or a film, and the patch will not stay on. You'll have the same problem again. I said, well, can it be plugged? Yeah, it can be plugged, but we can't do that. We're not allowed to do that. You can do it, but it does compromise the integrity of the tire because it expands the belts and whatnot in the tire. I get that. I said, okay, all right. What's it going to cost to replace the tire? Well, it was cheaper than the Toyota dealership, around $256. I think that's what he quoted me. All right, listen. I don't like it, but 20, 30 years ago, I would have been mad, right? I would have been mad about it. And there are things I still get mad about. These little surprises that get thrown on you every once in a while, especially when the kids are in school. Like, hey, Dad, tomorrow I got to have X amount of dollars. And you're like, I don't even know if I'm going to get through to the next payday. But you tend to find the money somewhere. You start lifting sofa cushions and whatnot. No, I didn't really do that, but hey, listen, there was a time in my life that we did stuff like that, but no, not when the kids were in school. Things weren't that bad. My point is, I no longer have the emotional meltdowns that I had 20, 30 years ago. Okay? It's gotten to the place where I expect these things to happen on a pretty regular basis. Okay? You might say, well, is it just maturity? Is it just a matter of time that taught you how to do that? No, you know what it was? So I knew a guy who owned a piano store. And I love pianos. And I always wanted to buy a baby grand piano to put in my house. And never did. And I haven't done it yet. But his piano store really wasn't doing too well. I wouldn't imagine that most piano stores would. I don't know, but not in Lakeland. And every time I went in, I'd say, how's business? Haven't sold anything in a month. Haven't sold anything in 2 months. Maybe 3 months. Right? But he always looked calm. He always looked like he was handling it well. He didn't like it. He obviously did not like it. He would tell you that. But I always say, Rich, I'd say to him, Rich, what, how do you deal with that? He goes, oh, it's only money. Now, this man knew hardship, financial hardship. He's told me about these things. But he had a perspective on money that, at least he lent his perspective on money at that moment, that I wondered if it was just sarcastic. And maybe it was kind of tongue-in-cheek. But I think he really felt that way. Now, I say all that at the risk of someone believing that what I'm promoting here is that you should not have to respect money. No, that's not what I'm saying at all. Money is to be respected. It is something to be a wise steward of, right? Not everybody can just shake the tree and see money and coins, cash and coins just fall from it. Most of us can't do it. We always say money doesn't grow on trees. That's the idea that you just go over and shake it, and just fall off. Most of us can't do it. There are some people in life that have gotten to that point where they can do that. And they're very comfortable, and they probably worked for it. They've earned it. But that's not for everybody. It's probably for more of us than we realize. But the rest of us have to learn how to survive. We have to learn how to cope. And we have to be willing to accept that there's going to be surprises. There's going to be interruptions. And they're going to challenge the way we handle, any given situation that crops up like that. I got tired of being upset that something else was robbing me once again. Just can't hold on to my money. There's always someone there to take it. You know what? Yeah, there is. And that will always be the case. Here's the thing. You do need to be a wise steward of your finances. You do need to learn how to be better. You do need to learn how to pay down credit cards. You do need to learn how to curb your spending habits, and get on a budget. You do need to learn all of that. I absolutely advocate for all of that. But I also want to say, don't hold on to your money so tightly. I didn't realize I was moving my camera. Don't hold on to your money so tightly that it controls you, controls the way you think and feel. Well, it does control the way we think to some degree, but it shouldn't control how you feel most of the time. Everything shouldn't hinge on it. You should be able to get to a point when something crops up and you can't control the fact that you are once again called upon to step up and donate donate to any given thing in order to be able to take the next step. You need to learn to be able to say, you know what, it's only money. Stop clutching on to it so tightly. Because here's the thing. Now that I'm in my 50s, I've got some time, behind my belt and everything. I've listened to what economists and investors have said, that people who are concerned about what happens with their money oftentimes die with too much of it. Sometimes we clutch on it, we can become responsible with our money, and then we clutch onto it so tightly that we're not willing to give it away for anything whatsoever. I mean, for any pleasures in life that could be ours, everything's only got to be expended on the necessary things. And you know what? That begins to suck after a while. It really does. It begins to suck. And if you're with people in your life that you could spend it on and have a good time with, they're going to be upset that you're not parting with it very easily because you haven't developed the attitude of, well, it's only money. That attitude right there. When I listened to Rich say that, and I started thinking about it quite a bit, I adopted it for myself. And when these things come up, I don't have to like that now I have to spend money on another tire. When I got a tire when I did it at the Toyota dealership, it was over $300. Here it's $256 for the same tire. Now, so I've shopped around a little bit, but I no longer get really upset about things where my money is being taken from me. It feels like where I feel like I'm being robbed. I've come to accept it as a way of life, and that I wasn't meant to hold on to it all the time. I don't want to die with too much money. You hear people say, well, I want to leave my kids all these tens of thousands of dollars. Yeah, the thought is nice, but I mean, do you really want to hold on to it so tight that you didn't do what you could have done with it? People are willing to deal with the mental anguish from holding on to money, just clutching too tightly to it. They get upset anytime something happens. Don't let that happen to you anymore, man. I'm telling you, I have learned. Something might crop up right after this. You'll find a way to balance the books at the end. You'll find a way to recover. You always do. You don't think you will, especially when you're younger. You don't think you're going to recover, but you will. You'll regroup. Your finances will be restored. It all comes back. But be willing to part with it, whether it's out of necessity or whether it's to entertain people in your life. Be responsible. Be a wise steward of your money, and respect it. But just don't clutch on to it too tightly, and don't be so upset when you have to part ways with it. Think about that. It's only money. That's all it is. Filthy lucre. I always like that. I always like that saying. I read that in the Bible when I was a kid, but anytime I ever hear it, it just sounds funny. Just the way it sounds funny. Anyway, I don't want to get off track here. I hope you guys got something out of it. Leave your thoughts. Maybe you learned a thing or two about a thing or two. All right? Thanks for listening. I'll catch you guys in the next one. I'm going to get my tire changed now. Let's hope that I can get out of the parking lot without having to replace another one. I mean, At least if I get a nail in any more tires, I hope it's the other two that haven't gotten them yet, so I can have like basically a whole new set. If that happens to one more tire, I'm just gonna get two more, just to have a good spare. You know what I mean? All right. I've talked enough. Hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day. In the meantime, be wise.